Residents gathered tonight to acknowledge those who are doing good things in their community. WGEM's Shakayla McCamick reports on how that community is celebrating.
The Spirit of Keokuk award ceremony started as a small gathering in 1992. Event organizer and executive director of Keokuk Area Convention and Tourism Bureau, Kirk Brandenberger, says the ceremony acts as an annual meeting of various Keokuk organizations to update the community on how the city is doing.
This regional tourism initiative is being touted and recognized as one of the most successful collaborative tourism efforts in Midwest.
More importantly, he says, it's a time to honor those who serve their community.
Recognizes folks that kind of go under the radar for the most part for the things that they do throughout the community.
In the weeks leading up to the ceremony, Main Street Keokuk Executive Director Kira Krasinski says residents nominate individuals they think deserve to win the Spirit of Keokuk Award.
We have 3 board members from each of the 4 hosting organizations come in and score the nominations, and our highest scoring nominations are our winners.
Krasinski says that Keokuk has faced challenges in 2022. She says that's why it's important to highlight those making a difference and shedding positivity on the rural community.
There are a lot of rural communities that are experiencing the same kinds of things that we are. And just as much as, we have challenges, there are people doing really wonderful things in this community and really making things happen and contributing to the economic vitality of Keokuk, and we really want to recognize those people.
20 individuals were nominated, and the 4 top scoring nominations took home a trophy. Shakayla McCamick, WGEM News, Keokuk.
And more than 120 people attended the Spirit of Keokuk ceremony. That's a record number for the event. You can find a list of the Spirit of Keokuk award winners and Keokuk organizations you can connect with on our website, WGEM.com.